Welcome to the Your Family Dog podcast, where we celebrate the special bond between families and their canine companions. Our goal is to help families and dogs grow up together, one episode at a time. Welcome to the Your Family Dog podcast. Today, we're joined by Dr. Matt Glassman, board-certified veterinary surgeon and one of the leading voices in emergency and advanced veterinary care. He completed his veterinary training at the University of Pennsylvania, followed by a rotating internship at Ohio State and a surgical internship at South Florida with a residency in small animal surgery at the University of Georgia, where I got to meet him, where he later served as clinical surgery instructor at UGA. He's currently the chief of surgery at Friendship Hospital for Animals in Washington, D.C., where he's helped grow one of the most advanced veterinary centers in the country. He's also the founder and CEO of ReadyRESCUE, a company focused on giving pet owners veterinary-grade tools to handle emergencies at home, starting with toxin ingestion. This is going to be a really important conversation for any dog owner, so I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Very excited.
I haven't seen you in how long?
It's been, oh my God, 16 years probably. Yeah,
Right?
since I was in Athens.
And I'm the only one who looks older. Lucky me.
No.
So, talk to me about what you've been working on.
Well, after my residency and orthopedic fellowship at Georgia, I came back up to DC and started working at as a vet surgeon at my father's practice, which at the time was a general practice with emergency. And so over the next 10 years, we started adding more and more specialists, and added a third floor onto the building while we
Oh,
were
wow.
working. It was interesting. And then we pretty much had all of the specialists except for radiation oncology. That was really the only, and behavior at that point. So, but
And you have behavior now?
what's that? Yeah, we do. We
Here
do.
now? Nice.
Yeah, actually, I had a rotating intern. We had a rotating internship at our hospital, and she wasn't sure what she wanted to do. And when she was on surgery with me, she was incredibly organized and a pleasure to work with. And so she stayed. I said, "How would you like to stay working with me for a couple of years?" And so she stayed for 3 years, just helped me with surgery, and then she really got into behavior. And so she decided she knew she wanted to be a specialist, I think, after working with me and kind of concentrating in one area. Um, and so she did a behavior residency, and now she's back with us as a behavior specialist. So,
That's wonderful.
yeah,
There's not enough behavior professionals who
no,
really who bridge that gap between the veterinary world and the pet dog world. I
yeah,
work really hard to try to um, have good connections with them and to um, help it feel more to the customer like everyone's on the same team, because we're all on the same team. And I think sometimes families get pinched between the trainer saying, hey, this, I need you to check out the medical, and the medical going, yeah, no, that's just a behavior thing. And so sometimes getting those gears aligned can be a little tricky. So I love that you've got
definitely.
somebody in-house who's doing it. So I know that you've worked in emergency medicine, right? And you've wrangled, I'm sure, the same way I do. Like, I get calls in the middle of the night, like, this is what's going on. Do we go to the emergency vet or can we wait? I always lead with, I'm not a veterinarian.
Yeah.
But I also do know things, right? Like, I've done
Yeah.
this a long time. And so sometimes I can walk them through, well, this is what I would do, but like, again, not a vet. So I love that you're starting a company that's specifically designed to help people bridge that gap
Yeah.
between, like, my vet's open and it's easy to get in, which right now it's kind of hard to get in with a vet, and
my animal is having a hard time. What do I do? So
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about that gap from the physician side? Because I really only know it from like the dog owner trainer side.
Yeah. So I'd always noticed in my career, and I wasn't really able to like consciously verbalize it even to myself, just how how helpless a lot of pet owners are in terms of taking care of their pets. And it really wasn't until COVID rolled around and we really had that increased demand in pet care and constrictions from COVID that we saw emergency rooms shutting down for the first time in my career. Like we would never think to turn anyone away before COVID. And then around COVID, we were just inundated. And there were times when I was waiting for emergency surgeries to come in, and I'd be waiting and waiting and then call whomever, and they would tell me that they were turned away by the emergency room. And so then I'd get on the computer and I'd look to see what was more important than that animal who needed surgery to coming in. And invariably, it would be things that were emergencies to the pet owner, but really weren't emergencies, like the diarrhea, the torn nail, the ear infection, the runny eye, the red eye, stuff like that. And at that time, I wouldn't say it was an epiphany, but like it made me kind of question what we were doing in veterinary medicine. And when you like if you step back and contrast how pet owners take care of their pets in terms of when they go to the hospital and how we take care of ourselves and our kids in relation to when we go to the hospital, it's so different. When you or I have a headache or have GI upset or whatever, we're not going to the emergency room.
Right.
But that's the norm in veterinary medicine, and it is accepted, and it's like expected. And so
Some of it is because it's a little bit like when our kids are really little, right?
yeah,
We don't know. Well, one, it's a smaller creature, generally
yeah,
speaking. And so that feels more urgent. And they can't talk, they can't tell us what level of suffering is actually occurring
right,
and give us information that allows, like, I can turn to Christopher and go, hey, you're acting goofy. Do you have a headache? And he could be like, oh man, yes, I have a massive headache. And then we can kind of navigate that.
right,
Or if I have a child who says my throat really hurts, I can navigate, okay, that's strep throat. We don't need to go to urgent care. We can make an appointment with the pediatrician and everything will be fine. But with our pets, we are out of our depth because they can't always give us that feedback loop. And a lot of times, dogs and cats are so stoic that by the time they're
there's yeah,
responding about something, we're like, it's a 911. My dog's never done this.
right. So at that time I did a survey of veterinarians and asked them, what percentage of emergency cases do they see that they would say don't wind up with an admission to the hospital and really are more to say where they would say it's not a big deal, go take some Pepcid or go get some Benadryl for this or that problem and just give it some time. Don't feed them, their normal food for 24 hours, stuff like that. And it ended up being like 40%. So, and that's
And that's
just
a big expense for owners too,
a huge
right?
expense for owners, and it's a burden on the hospital and those animals that like really need to get in. And so it kind of started this desire to build a company that our tagline for a little while was making vet sense common sense, where, as a vet, I'm able to look at an animal and determine what's an emergency. And if there's a little bit of an issue, but it's not a big issue, I'll give them some Benadryl, I'll give them some whatever. And so my initial plan was really to bring over-the-counter medications and treatments to the pet space. You go into CVS right now, there are 30 different types of Pepcid, different companies, different colored pills. But when you look at it, they're all exactly the same, but none of them are labeled for pets. All
No.
of them have the same indication in people. And so, there's absolutely no reason that that should be the case. And so that was really our mission starting out. And the first product that we brought to market was really an innovative charcoal product. So, as you know, activated charcoal is used for emergencies for pet intoxication. So, if a pet eats something poisonous, like think chocolate or human medications, you can give them charcoal, and the charcoal binds indiscriminately a lot of different things. It just binds it and holds it in the stomach and carries it through the GI tract, and they poop it out. So they're absorbing less of that poison. And the internist, one of my friends from Friendship Hospital where I work, he does dialysis. And so he was telling me about this activated carbon that is like a lab grown activated charcoal. It's much more dense. It's clean. It's made with little beads instead of powder. And they use it in dialysis tubing to pull toxins out of blood. And they had to make something different because blood doesn't flow very well through charcoal powder. It would make like mud, and so they needed something where blood could flow through these beads, could pull the toxins out, and then put the blood back in the animal. So he was saying, before we do Pepcid and stuff like that, we should really focus on this need of an emergency charcoal, because when a pet is intoxicated or poisoned by something, the time to treat them is immediately, immediately when you find out, and not necessarily 20 minutes or an hour and a half or 2 hours later by the time that you get to a vet, depending on where you live in the US. And so that kind of started my quest down, started me down that quest to kind of figure out, okay, how do we do this? Where do we get it manufactured? How do we show that it works and everything like that? And so that's when we came up with this. So this is activated charcoal or activated carbon, which is like a next generation activated charcoal. So you can see it's like little sand pebbles. And what's great with it is, so this is right here, 48 grams of activated carbon and 48 grams of activated charcoal. So it's a lot more dense than charcoal. So for those that are listening, not watching, it's about a little less than half the volume of activated charcoal. It has no taste. If you spill it on the floor, it's not going to destroy your carpet or your floor like activated charcoal will. And because it's not that powder, it's not like a horrible saltine challenge. When you give it to an animal, you just mix it with a little bit of food and put the bowl down and let them eat it. And the other thing we wanted to do is in a lot of activated charcoals, there's a lot of other stuff in there that can cause blood disturbances and issues, and you may not want to give it in this situation or that situation. So we left all of that out. So we wanted to make a product that someone could totally screw up or abuse, and it would not result in an animal, being in a worse situation. And so yeah, that's what we've got is ReadyRESCUE. ReadyRESCUE is it's a great product. A lot of hospitals have adopted it, about 2,500 hospitals right now, because it's
Veterinary hospitals, I'm assuming.
Yeah, veterinary hospitals. Yeah,
I'm
because
surprised that it hasn't crossed over into implementation
I
for
I
parents.
hope, yeah, I hope so one day, because
Some things, we have a lot of medications and um, things that cross from the human population into our pets, but there are a few that
yeah,
cross the other way, which often are really fantastic products.
yeah.
So, how does a family understand? So, I'll give you my cat and I had a disagreement last week because he jumped on the counter and ate some medications for a dog that was boarding.
Okay.
Um, in pill pockets.
Yeah.
I knew he had done it like instantaneously. Like I went and brought the dog in from outside and the pills were missing. And I was like, the cat was the only one loose in the house. I knew I hadn't eaten a pill pocket. So it was the cat.
Yep.
So I grabbed my hydrogen peroxide and the
Yep.
cat and some towels and paper towel and headed into the bathroom, which was
Yeah.
easy to clean.
Yeah.
And I got a syringe. So I drew hydrogen peroxide up, injected it kind of into his throat to make him vomit many times, um, until I got the pills out because I was
Yeah.
like, we are not doing this, you
Yeah.
naughty, naughty cat. So how does a family now? I'm a little bit of a cowboy.
Yeah.
So I've been through some my animals ingesting some things, right? So if I know immediately it happened, I'm like, hydrogen peroxide will do the job. They'll Ralph it up. I can double
Yeah.
check and make sure everything's there, and then we're in the clear. If it had been 2 hours, I wouldn't have had that option, and we would have been going to the vet. Is
Yeah.
that a situation where Ready Rescue would have been like the perfect solution?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things with hydrogen peroxide is that, that a lot of people don't, I mean, you kind of intuitively get it, but or you kind of get it, but intuitively sometimes not, is that it works by burning the tissue, by burning the esophagus, burning the stomach. And
Feel
that,
bad about that.
yeah, no, historically that has been what people have done. I as a vet, I have to say I would not recommend it for cats because they're a little more sensitive in their esophagus and they can get like scar tissue strictures of their esophagus. So if
Oh,
anyone's
yeah.
listening, yeah, don't
Don't do it to your cat.
get some Ready Rescue if you're worried because it's
Yes,
safer.
I will.
And
Well, it's
for
funny because your email came, or I saw your post on, I think it was on LinkedIn, like the
yeah.
next day. And I was like, well, where were you yesterday?
There, yeah, I need to get out more, but yeah, so but the and a lot of people use hydrogen peroxide for dogs, but they've done a lot of studies in veterinary medicine. Their re most recent was probably 6 years ago, where they looked at hydrogen peroxide and apomorphine. Apomorphine makes them vomit, is what we use in hospital to make them vomit, and they found that making them vomit, or I'm sorry, trying to make them vomit works about 60% of the time. But when it works, when it brings it up, it only brings up on average about 45% of the toxin. So if you've got 2 pills or 3 pills and they puke it up, you can at least quantify that and you have an idea. But otherwise you can't, it's not a consistent means of preventing them from absorbing the toxin. And that's also been true in human medicine, where they don't recommend making people puke anymore. They also, oddly, gastric lavage, where they put a tube down into the stomach and rinse it out and then suck everything out, has shown to be even less effective somehow than vomiting. So it's really odd, but it's not super effective, and that's why activated charcoal has been the gold standard for detoxification of people and animals, and for a pretty long time. But and in human medicine, I mean, I'm sorry, in veterinary medicine, because we've never had a practical charcoal product on the market. Vets have always said if you're 2 hours away or very far away, do the only thing you can do, which is give hydrogen peroxide. So Ready Rescue is great because you can give really high doses. It works like a sponge. So the bigger the sponge that you give, the better it's going to work. You can give really high doses. It's not going to cause any problems. And it's gonna get in there, and that it's also gonna move out of the stomach and get those guys that are in the intestine and bind those as well. So it's really a phenomenal product. So what you would have done is you could have taken, so each vial treats 30 pounds of animal. So for a
Uh-huh.
cat, you would pour about a half of a vial would be a pretty good dose. Would be a dose for a 15-pound animal, but for a cat, being a little bit smarter than a dog, you know that they're going to leave some in the bowl. So, and that would still be a reasonable dose for them within the safe limit. So you would pour half into their bowl, put a little bit of yogurt or put some canned food or whatever they like and mix it in there. It has no taste, so it takes on the taste of whatever you mix it with, and that's it. Um, and our charcoal is good for 5 years. So a lot of that other those other normal charcoal products are have about a 1 to 2 year shelf life. So, hopefully you're
So
buying
it's
it.
even shelf stable longer.
Yeah, and actually I'm doing some testing now to show that it's good for 10 years because I would love for people to be comfortable buying it and knowing that they're buying it once or twice in their pet's life, if assuming they don't use it, which I
Yeah,
know they
assuming we
will.
never need it.
Right, which I know they will because I'm a pretty reasonable, my wife would disagree, but I'm a pretty good pet owner. And my dogs have gotten in, my two Cavaliers, I've got two now, have gotten into things 5 times in the last 3 years. Nothing horrible, but that, a couple pills of Advil that were left out, Celebrex, those are the human medications are by far
Yeah.
the biggest culprits. But what I would say is, I'm obviously very biased to ReadyRESCUE because it is better than anything out there. But what I will say to your listeners is that, activated charcoal is a great product. There are other since we've launched on Amazon about a year and a half ago, we've had a lot of kind of imitators show up that have regular charcoal in syringes, and they seem like good products. However, because charcoal tastes so bad, they have to mix it with flavoring and gel to make it, easy to administer. And what that does is it takes that volume that's a little more than twice our volume to get the same weight of charcoal, and it increases it. So then you have a massive volume. And unfortunately, these companies will what they do is they underdose. They say, oh, give one syringe per 30 pounds. Well, there's one company that is probably the leader on Amazon. One syringe has 8 grams of charcoal. And our dose for a 30-pound animal is 30 grams. So I mean, they're well below the lowest limit that we recommend in veterinary medicine. And so if anyone gets charcoal, I would, really look at how much weight of charcoal are you giving per dose. And I think they'll find that there is nothing that compares to ours.
So I'm on Amazon while we're talking. I know I probably
Yeah,
shouldn't do that, but I am.
that's all right.
Um, and this is very affordable.
Yeah, it's priced at
Right?
about a little bit less than $1 per pound, basically, for 5 years of protection. So you have a 30-pound dog. I would always have double the dose that you think for
You'll
each
need.
animal, just because if it's a massive intoxication, you're going to want to give them a lot. But basically, it would be $30 to protect that dog for 5 years. It's really a no-brainer.
It is. And it would be perfect to like just stick in your like emergency stuff above the laundry
Yep.
area of the house that when you need to get your hands on it, you can. So I just ordered. So there you
Oh,
go.
perfect.
Um, is this something that vets know about to
Yeah,
share with their
we
customers to say like, hey, your dog who gets into everything, like we all know someone who has a dog that
yeah.
has adjusted every manner of thing. Is this something that puppy owners should have? Like, talk to me about like, should you not really use it with a puppy if they've ingested something they're not supposed to have?
You
Is there
can Yeah, you can use it with anyone, any age. There's really no problem with it. Veterinarians, a lot of veterinarians know about it um, because a lot of vets have, well, we recently had a study published by University of Georgia, my alma mater, and that looked at, you basically showed that by weight, activated carbon is the same in terms of absorption of poisons as activated charcoal. And so with that paper, we started getting a lot of phone calls from people that, wanted to try it out in hospital because it is a seventh of the volume of the charcoal that's used in hospital. So
Right.
so I showed you before the 48 grams. This is 48 grams of what we would use in hospital, and this is 48 grams of the ReadyRESCUE. So, and veterinary technicians love it because when they're giving that much volume to an animal who doesn't really want to be at the hospital, they're spitting it up. It's all over them, all over the floor, and ruins their clothes. So the techs have been really thrilled about it. We just had VCA and Blue Pearl so 1,000 hospitals have switched over. They went through their medical committees and so a lot of vets know about it, but a lot of vets are still, I think, they're still a little uncomfortable with people making decisions for their pet at home. What I always say is like if there's just like Narcan and an EpiPen, if you need to use ReadyRESCUE, you're absolutely still contacting the veterinarian. You're probably still going to the vet, but you've got something on board that is working while you're panicking and trying to get wherever you need to go. So veterinarians that are in South Dakota, Arizona, less densely populated areas where after hours it could take 2 hours to get to an emergency vet,
Right.
they're telling all of their clients to purchase this and have it on hand. In more populated areas, where it might take 20 minutes to get to a vet, best case or 30 minutes, a lot of vets are not as forthcoming with recommending it. But, you know, the thing is that about 70 to 80% of the poison is absorbed in the first hour. So that 20 to 30 minutes is still pretty significant.
And so, honestly, owners are making decisions for their pet's health every minute of every day.
Yep.
Like, we don't know everything you know, of course, but people aren't, generally speaking, gonna immediately jump in the car and come to the vet. And even if they did, most vets don't have space in the calendar and the appointment to get them in.
Yep.
So, I mean, we had veterinary emergencies that happened kind of around the holidays this year. There was no way I couldn't get into my vet.
Yeah.
We were just stuck. So, fortunately, I know a lot of vets. So I could make a bunch of phone calls and wrangle someone and love them deeply for helping me. But
Yeah.
it not everyone's in that situation. And it sounds like me as someone who the person calls and says, my dog just ate blah, blah, blah. What do I do? I've always given them the poison control number, explained
Yep.
that they're going to charge them some money, but that money stays with the case, telling them about this ReadyRESCUE. If it was available in a Walmart, at a PetSmart, at a Pet Supplies Plus, at a PetSense, at your local vet, like,
We're at PetCo now, PetCo and Chewy. So the other two
right. So
places.
yeah, like just being available, like I'm gonna have it on hand. I'm not gonna, because now I feel really bad about the cat, but
No, no, I didn't want to out you. I just didn't want you to I didn't want you to have any
it's the
problems.
only time, it is the only time I've ever done it to the cat,
Yeah.
and I didn't know anything else that would make him barf.
No, you're right. I mean, making a cat vomit even in hospital is very, very difficult. So,
I was determined. The
yes.
cat was very mad at me. And I was like, good,
Yeah.
because we've had this conversation, dude. Like, just he's such a stinker.
Yeah.
And will he take a pill when you want him to take a pill? No.
Yeah.
But if he thinks he's getting by with something,
Right.
the state ought
Exactly.
to do it.
But
So
the status quo is really hard to change. I mean, can you imagine if and like you said, the consumer makes a lot of decisions for their pets. Can you imagine? I mean, there's absolutely no way we would have fresh food for dogs if we waited for and I'm a veterinarian, and I say this with love.
absolutely.
If we waited for veterinarians to trumpet it, there's
Well,
no.
I mean, those of us who have made a career learning an awful lot about nutrition
Yeah,
are generally going to vehemently disagree with a veterinarian
yeah,
because
and
we know more,
right. No,
right? And and I hate that that puts us at odds. Like that sucks. I don't like that. I don't like ever being in a situation where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to disagree with your vet on that. Um, but you guys can't know everything, and neither can we.
yeah, no,
So
and we know what we know because we were told what we know. So unless you have a desire to think outside the box, like you're gonna stick with the same dogmas. I remember, I mean, so when we're in surgery, there's a lot of time just talking while you're doing stuff. And one of my soapboxes used to be when talking to an intern about raw food or about those types of things. And they would list like it's terrible for them, they could die from the salmonella and all of this and all of that. And I'd be like, I hear you. When was the last time you saw a dog or cat come into the hospital with salmonella, or another infection from a raw food or whatever? And then they'd be like, well, maybe like last year I heard about, and I'd be like, okay, great. When was the last time you saw a hyperthyroid cat or a hypothyroid dog? And it'd be like 5 minutes ago, So I think everything is, you can
yes,
you can punch holes in everything,
and
but
and none of it is really a zero sum game,
yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
I'm not going to feed what my vet, who I adore, I love her. I am not going to feed what she recommends.
Yeah,
I'm not. And part of it is because I know more. But I am going to hear her out. And and what I tend to do is say, okay, what is it we're trying to control for?
right.
So that I
Yeah,
understand what the goal for what she's recommending is. Um, and I think the more that, and frankly, when I had cancer and asked my oncologist, is there anything I need to adjust in my diet? She looked at me like I had 72 and a half heads,
yeah,
right? I think that there's a big disconnect between providing medical care and building health.
yeah,
And those of us who are more on that nutrition end of the continuum, we're trying to build health and longevity, not feed cereal,
right.
which is
How horrified would you be if you were at the zoo and you saw the keeper roll out with a giant bag of cat food and just dump it into a bowl
for
for
the
a
long run.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's a funny meme to think about, but and it's not the same thing, but it's also not the same thing,
I had I had a really sweet zoo vet say to me, "Well, Purina makes a great monkey chow." And I thought, okay, how is monkey chow better than actual food?
Yeah,
Like I will say that there are some cities I go to, Asheville, North Carolina, I'm talking about you. None of those vets have science diet in their offices. They have
yeah,
recipe books. They
yeah.
don't care,
That's cool.
right? Which is great. But it's hard. It's definitely hard in a college town that has a university that has a vet school
Mhm.
because
A
it's
lot of
it's
vets.
it's the Voldemorts. That's all they want to talk about. And I'm like, yeah, no, we're going to talk about some other stuff. So, okay, let's get off the food thing because I
Yeah.
don't want to make
Yeah,
all the
it's
vets mad.
one of my favorite.
So,
Sorry, vets. Sorry, I'm a vet. I didn't mean it.
and building health and caring for them medically are sometimes two different things. I learned through my own illness that they knew how to get me not dying,
Yeah.
but they didn't know how to get me back where I was before I got sick. And
Yeah.
I want to be where I was before I got sick. So it just meant I needed other idiots in my village, which was
Yeah.
okay. All right. So what's so you would say well, one, we should talk to our vets about this and be like, hey, have you ever heard about this? Because it might actually help their own practice.
Yeah, it's I'd love for them to talk to their vet about it. Say
And
again?
get it for ourselves so we
Yeah.
have
Yes, absolutely. And the vets, I would say if your vet has any response other than sounds like a good idea, there's likely something that is lost in translation um, because there is zero reason not to be prepared. And there is no situation. I've gone through every situation. There is no situation where you could give ReadyRESCUE and make things worse. Now there are some other charcoals, like I was telling you, with stuff in it that could make them worse, but that's why we don't have it in there, and that's why ReadyRESCUE is just pure carbon, or pure activated carbon. And so there really isn't a situation in which you would say, don't give it and come to the vet. So you should always go to the vet. You should always listen to your vet, but it's possible, when you talk to them, if that they don't know about ReadyRESCUE yet, and you should help them.
to then bring your
Check
packaging,
it
right?
out. Yeah.
Like bring all your packaging with you when you're headed to the emergency vet
Yeah.
or to your regular vet. So is that even in the packaging? Like use this and call your vet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And our website and the packaging, as a vet, um, and that's why I wanted this business to be, I mean, run by vets and with advisors that are all vets. And, is that we all have a certain standard. We all gave up a lot to do what we do, and there isn't a product in the world that I would push, or a price that I would put on, my professional integrity, because, it'd be like, throwing away the last 40 years, 30 years. I'm not that old, 30 years. So, yeah, so there isn't a situation in which you're going to make something worse with ReadyRESCUE.
Right. You may not save your animal's life, but you're not gonna
But
you're
you're
not
gonna,
gonna take it.
yeah, you're gonna make it.
Give
You're
them a
gonna make
chance.
it better. You're gonna give them a chance. You're gonna make the veterinarian's gonna have less to deal with when they get to the hospital, because less will have been absorbed. That your pet will have less to recover from, because they'll have less damage done to their kidneys or liver, with charcoal on board binding the toxin. So, yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense.
So what's next on the horizon for Dr. Cuddles?
Honestly, so I took a year off to kind of launch this, and then it turned out I really miss surgery. I miss working with the animals. I miss the people. And I miss the 6 wins a day. I never really realized that I was like a dopamine junkie. But being able to do surgery or fix an animal or help someone, 5 to 10 times a day, like, really feels good. And I think that's why most vets love their job. They maybe don't love the day-to-day of their job, but they love, overall they love their job. And so I missed it. So I went back, and we're still trying to get ReadyRESCUE off the ground and in the right direction in everybody's home. I think about what's next after that, and I have a plan. I don't know if I have the gas in me to execute,
Oh,
but I will tell you that I will not let the idea or um the know-how die with me. Like, we will bring over-the-counter medications to the pet space, because it doesn't
I
make
think
sense
it's
not to.
important. I
Yeah.
mean, we do it with wormers,
Yeah.
right? And we have people doing workarounds all the time. Like you
Yeah.
can Google how much Benadryl can my dog have if he, but you know,
Sure.
if he ate a bee. So, um,
So why
I
not have it
think,
on the package and have make sure that that Benadryl is safe. It doesn't have
yes,
xylitol and all. You're not going to make
yeah,
the whole goal
exactly.
is to create products that are not going to make the situation worse, you
Well,
know?
I love the idea of empowering families to be able to navigate some relatively simple things. So if, as a vet, if there were some things that every family should have kind of in their doggy emergency kit, other than Ready Rescue, what else
Yeah.
should they?
So I mean, it kind of depends a little bit on the dog and what their problems are. I think if any animal has, um, you know, some specific health concern like diabetes or whatnot, ask your vet what to keep in there. Should you keep some Caro syrup? Should you keep some, this or that to help with them? Um, and but I would say in general, I think that it makes sense to have some bandaging material, some quick stop if you trim nails, to have
I
you
have
know,
the same vial of Quick Stop I bought in 1988,
yeah, there you
and I
go.
don't care that it expires. I
It
open it
still
up, I
works.
pull it
Yeah,
out on the tap, I set it down, and then I won't use it.
yeah,
But I will always quick a dog if I have not gotten out my Quick Stop.
yeah. No, always.
Always.
Um, And you should check out this product called Stip Stick, Stypstix. It's a quick stop, but it's like a chapstick, so it's not like as messy. And so I saw that at a recent conference. It was very interesting.
Okay, spell that again for me.
Stypstix, Styptic, .com.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Oh, very
So.
cool.
I mean, and that's the type of product I love. Like I love the idea of recreating the wheel, is making something better so that it's more usable. So yeah, I think that I think that that sort of thing. I think your tick remover or tweezers, magnifying glass. I we have concentrated on ReadyRESCUE, but we had an emergency kit for a little while, but we found that with a finite amount of funds to market, we really had to concentrate on one thing. But in our emergency kit was an ear flush, eye flush, and a wound gel. All were hypochlorous based, and hypochlorous is it's almost like a super dilute bleach. So, which sounds terrible, but it's very gentle and it just sterilizes things. So you can use it in the eye, you can use it in the ear, you can use it on wounds, and and so having stuff like that would be great because you know if you have any dog or cat long enough, they're going to get something in their eye at some point, and you think it's hard to get into a vet, try getting into an ophthalmologist, a veterinary ophthalmologist. So having some flush so you can kind of keep the eye moist and clean out whatever got in there makes a whole lot of sense.
I love that you're in the process of really empowering vets and their customers, their people with pets, to have a really beautiful marriage in those. It's urgent, but it's not necessarily an emergency. So do the poison control hotlines know about? They
They
do?
do. They do. They don't, like I said, most charcoals have a lot of excipients, a lot of other things in them that aren't good. And so some of them get concerned about that someone giving charcoal with that.
Right.
So we've
Their
reached out,
purpose is it.
yeah, we've reached out to a few, uh, and we were, and I think that there is a lot of concern about people giving it and not contacting them or contacting their vet. But, and so I think that's the biggest concern I've heard from them. But, I can't imagine having something like Narcan out there and being like, yeah, but I'm worried that if we empower
Not
people
gonna
to
call them.
save other people, that they're not going to go to the doctor. Like I don't think that that's an acceptable response, is that people are dumb and pet owners will never be able to do this. I think when there are tools that can save a pet's life better than anything at a vet, like there's nothing that is better than ReadyRESCUE compared to treatment at a vet 3 hours later. Nothing. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we know as vets that people have Chat GPT, they have the internet, they've got things at their fingertip. And if you don't provide them with the tools to make safe tools to help them make decisions, they're gonna make decisions on their own.
This
And
may not be safe like my decision a couple of weeks ago.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but no,
He was cuddling me earlier today. We made up.
he's fine. He's fine. If it was a problem, it would have been a problem earlier. So don't worry.
Yes. He will not, I'm sure, be dissuaded from his
No,
previous.
no. That's one thing we know, is that they never learn their lesson.
Never. So, is this really if your pet has ingested a toxin, or like would you use this if the dog chews up their leash and ingests that? Then this isn't going to be the solution for that.
Correct. Yeah, it's not going to absorb foreign material. If anyone has a treatment for that, let me know, because that's a extremely common emergency for me in the middle of the night, and I would like to make that product. But
Yeah, the
so,
golden retrievers of the world probably keep
right,
you in business.
not gonna absorb a tennis ball. So it's gonna absorb, think like grape, raisin type of toxin,
Macadamia
or
nuts.
chocolate, macadamia nuts, things, THC is a big one now. So CBD, THC, it'll absorb that. The thing that it doesn't absorb, and again, it's not going to make the situation worse, are like alcohols, because they're so rapidly absorbed, like through mucous membranes into the bloodstream, that and ethylene glycol or antifreeze, it's going to absorb so fast that nothing is going to prevent the
Not going to be
absorption.
fast enough.
Exactly. So, but if they just ate antifreeze right in front of you and you were like wanted to try it, you wouldn't be making it worse.
You could give it to them while you're driving to the emergency vet.
Exactly, absolutely. And so the other question we've got for your Florida followers, like, would be like cane toads, and or bufo toads, because that it won't work for that, because it's not really ingested, just like alcohols. It's just they lick
Mucus
it and
membrane.
it gets absorbed in the mucous membranes. Exactly. So those types of things. But anything that they eat goes down into the stomach and gets digested. Any drug, anything like that, it will absorb. So
Excellent. Well, I love that I saw your post on LinkedIn.
I
Congratulations on an amazing product.
thank you.
And I will be sure to share it far and wide. Like I said, I've already ordered it for my little emergency container above the washer, so that we have something better than what I've used in the past. And I'm trying to think, have our dogs ever ingested? No, it's always been the cat.
Really? That's
Yeah.
fun, because usually the cats definitely get into things. They get into plants and, lilies, all of that. But
So we don't have lilies, because I know
that's
pretty much
good.
all
Yeah.
lilies are toxic. But yeah, our dogs don't generally steal things off the counter. It's the cat.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
uses up his life.
And with the cat, like that you could get, we have the single vial I was showing you, and then the 3 vial. If you had
I ordered the 3 pack.
yeah, if you have two
We
or
have
three
dogs. We have dogs that are 2 of our dogs are like 40 pounds and the other one's like 60. So a 3 pack will be just fine. Then I'll know for the next 5, maybe 10 years, we're good.
yeah. So yeah, we're on Amazon, Chewy, PetCo, and a bunch of smaller independent retailers. And yeah, if you're a retailer out there that wants to make sure that your customers' pets are protected, definitely reach out.
I'll
So
be sure to pass it along to the store owner
yeah, that'd be great.
that you're familiar with.
Yes.
So thank you so much for spending your time with us. And while I love that you're back in surgery, I really hope that you will get the gas, as you said it, to tackle this other project. I think it's really important. I see as so calling me is not as scary as calling the vet.
Yeah.
And I get a ton of people who ask me questions like, well, can my dog hit? And I'm like, yeah, that's out of, like, that is not what I do.
Right.
I really wish there was, even if there was just a reputable formulary somewhere that somebody
Yeah.
could go, okay, here are the things that you absolutely can use and what you can use it for and the dosing and it's safe for like when your dog gets kennel cough,
Sure. Yeah.
right? Like, isn't it? It's one of the Robitussin, I think, is what the last time I had a dog with kennel cough, the
Yeah.
vet was
That's
like, just go get this. You'll be fine.
on
Like
our
he's fine.
list.
Right.
Yeah.
So just knowing what on a list is safe and
Yep.
not something that was, somebody just made up on or that ChatGTP made up um, is important because having a reputable source to find out is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like what
Absolutely.
eye drops can I use on my dog if my dog's eye is a little goopy from the pollen?
Yep.
So I would personally love to see something like that out in the market. I think it would be important for families and it might help vets navigate some of the stuff um, more easily because they're not having oh, here's a what is an inconvenient problem, but not an emergency trying to get in. They could say, well, here, you can do this.
Yep. Absolutely. And the vet knowing that there's a company or a group of products that have been vetted, are appropriately labeled, and because vets just don't want you to make it worse by accident, which makes sense.
Which no family wants to either. Like everybody's on the same team on this.
Yeah,
And by the way, no family wants to spend $1,000 at the emergency room for no good reason or to
absolutely.
be up in the middle of the night because their cat decided to be a lunatic.
Yeah,
So I think knowing, okay, my cat ate tinsel, now what? Is that an emergency vet visit? Or is that like, oh, blah, 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 you can do XYZ that's been vetted by a vet? Like,
yeah,
here, you can do this and induce vomiting. If all the tinsel comes out, you're good. If it doesn't, it's an emergency vet thing.
yeah,
So I think giving people tools to navigate, kind of like we do telehealth with humans,
yeah,
is is a big deal because you're right. You're talking to you is going to be way better than my Google search.
yeah,
So I think finding a way because people are pretty rugged individualists, and the world is at our fingertips on our phone, that bridging that gap is going to be a big piece moving forward. Because, I mean, I don't know about you now, unless I see it in person, I can't believe anything anymore.
oh yeah. And I think that's where a lot of vet skepticism comes from, because we hear and see a lot of those types of things where you're like, yeah, that's not going to work, or that's not going to be good. So
So if your dog gets into Ready Rescue and ingests it on their own, it's not going to hurt anything.
nope, no, you don't have to
They
give
also really don't have any good reason to just randomly eat it.
yeah, but they have no good reason to eat anything else. But no, I mean, it's very secure in the box and in the vials. But I mean, it's like the most inert substance ever.
Right. So even if it gets ingested, it's going to go right through. It's not going to hurt anything.
Absolutely. And it will, when I say it goes right through, it goes right through. It like they will have bedazzled poops later. So, and that's normal. The beads don't dissolve in water. It just goes right through. So,
So I'll tell you a funny dog trainer story. So this was equal parts disgusting and awesome at exactly the same time. And sadly, the phone I had it on, I didn't back up and